In today's video, I would like to share the time that I quit my job for the sake of my mental health. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is June and welcome to my channel where I share my experiences as a single Muslimah striving to lead a deen-driven, purposeful life. If you're new to my channel, then do check out my introduction video where I share about what it means to lead a deen-driven, purposeful life. I upload content once a week every Sunday, inshallah, but there are times where I will upload vlogs and reviews here and there. Previously, I have shared about the time that I had felt suicidal and wanted to die. And it wasn't until I learned about personal development in around, I think, 2014, 2015, that I realized that what I had went through was actually depression. So back then I didn't know about mental health, I didn't know about depression. All I knew was that I wanted to die. I didn't want to continue living because life didn't turn out exactly how I planned it, and I was feeling very stressed out about it. So it was only after I learned about personal development that I realized that I had a depressive episode, and I am very thankful that I managed to get out of that depressive state. And having learned about mental health, I started to be very careful in making sure that I do not feel too overwhelmed to the point where I wanted to die or feel suicidal again. So in 2015, I was interning at a local resort, and they offered me a full-time position after I finished my internship, which I accepted. I was accepted into the reservations department, and I was there as an events and reservations officer. The department that I entered was, well, to put it nicely, there were many people who were trying to advise me before going into that department, particularly because there was a person there who was known to be rather toxic. But I wanted the job because I am interested in the hospitality line. And in the first place, it was hard for me to get into the hospitality line or working at hotels because I was wearing hijab. And the school that I was with, they tried to get me placements in many hotels, but they couldn't because I was wearing hijab. So it was only this resort that in the end accepted me to be an intern there because it is run by a local Singaporean, so they didn't mind. And so that was how I ended up with that company. And the fact that they saw something in me and they wanted me to stay on after my internship made me feel very honored and thankful. So I didn't want to let go of the opportunity. So I decided to take up the offer despite the advices given to me by the people in the company. I was thinking that maybe inshallah I will do better in that department as long as I do my job right, as long as I'm not fussy, as long as I strive to be the person that I am. But in the end, I still accepted the job because I wanted to give it a try. Because you never know, right, until you try something for yourself. And I was hoping that maybe with me things might be slightly different because I know myself. I know I am good at learning. I'm a quick learner, and I also have a good work ethic. So I was hoping that maybe there wouldn't be much friction between me and the toxic person. So in a way, it was true. I didn't really have a lot of issues with that toxic person who happens to be, my manager. She's actually the manager of the department. Outside of work, I can tell that she is a nice person. As in, I've seen her interact with her children, and I think, outside of work, she is okay. It's just that when it comes to work, she transforms. So, but I strive my best to do my job, and I try to follow what she tells me to do, what she told me to do. And I make sure I do my job well, I do my job right. And I'm not afraid to ask questions, even though you might get scolded or something like that. But I am always in the opinion that it's better to ask and be embarrassed about it. Thicken your skin and ask rather than you just keep quiet and you try to do things and then get it wrong. So I prefer to just make my skin thick and just ask and risk being scolded or whatever. I don't care as long as it means that I do my job right. But the thing is, I'm not the only one working in that department. So there were other colleagues of mine there, and there was one particular colleague that often got picked on by by this manager. So I could see that it was a toxic environment to be in. But for most part, I try to tune it out, you know, and I try to offer support to the colleague who often gets scolded. But eventually, it came to a point where I didn't want to stay in that toxic environment because of what I was going through at that time. So my dad had cancer in 2014, and by 2016, his condition kept worsening. So there was one time where he was admitted to the hospital, and I wanted to be there because I am the eldest child and I'm actually the official caregiver. And anything that my dad had to go through at the hospital and all that, I am the one who had to liaise with the doctors because my mom couldn't speak English, and so the responsibility falls upon me to be the liaison between the doctors, between the hospital and my family. So at that time, I was under a lot of stress because of my dad's medical condition. And so that time in 2016, where he was admitted to the hospital, I wanted to be there, right? But I was scheduled to work, and it was a Saturday. So I told my manager that I cannot come in because I wanted to be with my dad. But she was saying that, oh, I can't because there has to be two people on duty on Saturdays. And if I'm not coming, then the other colleague of mine will be on her own. So I was like, okay, fine. I will just go down and work. And after work, then I rush to the hospital. But then about a few weeks later, or a month or so later, there was a point where I was working on Saturday again, but then the colleague that was supposed to work with me, she cannot make it because I think she was sick or she had something on, I couldn't remember. So essentially, I was working alone on that Saturday. And I could handle things on my own even though I was working alone. So at that point of time, I was thinking, why did she insist that I come for work on that Saturday that I needed to be at the hospital? Because my colleague, I'm actually the youngest person in the department, right? So my colleague, who's my senior, should be able to handle things on her own. But here I am working on Saturday on my own, and I could handle things on my own. So I did not understand her logic of not allowing me to, be with my father when I needed to be with him. So it was that episode that made me question the workplace itself, like the lack of empathy. And I didn't need that kind of environment because I was already stressed out from my father's medical condition. Yeah, sorry for this change of direction because my camera died on me, so now I have to switch to my smartphone to record the rest of this video. So I think the last part that I mentioned was that I was really stressed out from the medical condition that my dad was going through. And in such a time, I would appreciate if the company could have shown more empathy to my situation. And I actually already informed my manager that, I have this issue. And she knows, because I asked her that I needed to be with my dad at the hospital. So following that incident, I grew very upset with the manager, with the toxic environment in general, and I made up my mind that I needed to leave. I I just couldn't couldn't take it to be at the place anymore, and because I knew I had a depressive episode before, so I knew that if I stayed on, I could, just slide back to being depressed, and that's not going to help anyone because that's not going to help my father. He needed me to be by his side. That's not going to help my family because they rely on me. And at that point of time, I was prepared to just leave the job, and even without finding a new job. And also because I could see my dad's condition turning for the worse, so I decided to, maybe this is the break that I needed from the job or from jobs in general, and just be there for my dad. So I took the decision to quit my job, and alhamdulillah, it was actually a great decision that I made because in April the following year, in 2017 April, my dad passed away. So I quit my job in August 2016. So I had September, October, November, December, January, about 7 months with my dad. Yeah, so everything turns out well. And from that incident, I make it a commitment to my own self that in the future, if I'm ever in a place where the job gets too much for me, that it is threatening my mental health, I will not hesitate to walk away from it. I would ideally, you should try to have a backup plan, like find another job before you leave your job. But um, at that particular incident, I didn't have the luxury to ensure I have a job to fall back on. And also because, family was more important at that point of time. And I was willing to, I sat down myself and I went through all the possibilities, and I was okay with being unemployed for a period of time. So I quit my job. And at that time, as a single Muslimah, it was hard because my dad wasn't working. Previously, my dad was working, but I was also working, so I wasn't like relying much on him financially. But when he was working, you knew that the household bills are taken care of, and groceries are paid for. But when he had to be let go from his job, then myself, my brother, my sister, we had to pitch into the family income a bit. And so then there I was without income, and it was honestly a difficult period because I actually needed income, right? But strangely enough, even though I was without income at that point of time, I didn't feel too depressed about it. Maybe because my father's medical condition was weighing more heavily on my mind. So I didn't mind not being employed. Of course, it was tough. It's always tough, without money. But it was something that I could handle, and um, it didn't burden me too much mentally as well. So I was grateful for that also. So my advice for you single sisters out there, if you are experiencing a difficult time at work and it's really affecting your mental health, then you should really consider whether you would want to stay on with that job. I mean, make plans to move from that job or move to a different department or whatever that you need to do. But do seriously consider your mental health. And it's not worth it to destroy your mental health for just some amount of money, especially if you're a single Muslimah, because we don't, as single Muslimas, we don't have dependents who depend on us. So it's a fortunate thing, I would say, on our part, that we don't have to worry so much about feeding a child, feeding children, and stuff like that. So do prioritize your mental health, and move away from a job that is eating into your mind, that is eating into your health. Because once your mental health is affected, your overall health is also affected. And then it won't benefit anyone when you are, not feeling well, not feeling right. Alright, so that is my sharing for today. If you find benefit in what I've shared so far, please do like my video, and please do consider subscribing to my channel for more of such updates from me. I apologize for this change in camera quality, but life happens and you just deal with it. Okay, till the next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.